best thing to do is just, go walk at lunch or do something. But whatever you think the right step for you is, that is the right thing. The number one thing that's going to make you see a change in your life is just adherence to doing it consistently. When you're looking at, something that you can do, it's not a matter of, oh, well, can I push myself right now hard for 10 minutes? It's no, can I do this every day for the rest of your life?
Hello everyone, thank you so much and welcome to the very first episode of my new channel. First off, I just want to say that I appreciate any and all patience and kindness that you'll show me at this time, just as I figure out this whole YouTube thing. But hopefully as time goes on, episodes will get better as I just continue to figure it out. And if you have any tips or suggestions, I'd really appreciate you leaving a comment, just so I kind of know what to improve upon. But today I decided to kick everything off, very first episode, by talking to one of my best friends, Jesse. Jesse is from Great Falls, Montana, and he loves everything Montana has to offer, as you'll soon hear. He and I met in college and competed in track and field together. Jesse recently graduated with his bachelor's degree in exercise science from the University of Mary in Bismarck, North Dakota, where I also graduated from as well. He has many hopes for the future, including starting his own gym, disseminating life-changing research to anyone he meets, with the aim of just helping people live better lives. In this episode, we talked about the variety of benefits exercise can give a person, and just how easy it is to get healthy, and just how that plays a role in mental health, and also how some vitamins and supplements impact the body, and just how important overall nutrition is for well-being. There are quite a few things that unfortunately we did not get to in this discussion that I'd hoped to get to, but that just means that I'll have to have him on again. I hope that you enjoy the discussion, and if this proved to be interesting or you liked it and wanted to see more, just please subscribe, and if you want to, leave a like. I'd really appreciate it, because that just helps me know to keep making more content. So I hope you enjoy. Thank you. All right, Jesse, thank you for agreeing to come on and be my first guest on my show. So
Totally.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I guess to start us off, who are you? I know you, but who are you?
All right, I'm Jesse. I'm from Montana, and that's by far my most defining feature.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, so if I'm not there, I want to get back there, and if I am there, I'm talking about it. If I'm not there, I'm going to be bragging about it and convincing everyone who I've ever known or haven't known to come there. Unless you're from California, then do not come there. Been an athlete my entire life in one way or another. Was always the skinny, malnourished kid. That was actually my nickname in high school.
That's a long nickname.
Well, just malnourished.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Even that, that's complex.
It's a mouthful, which ironically you don't ever have if you're malnourished.
Like you're running down the street and it's just, hey, malnourished kid.
Yeah. So that was fun. But done sports all my life. Huge music kid. Just kind of an advocate for Montana in one way or another at all times. And that's a very, very brief overview of myself.
Yeah. What about Montana gets you going?
Sure.
Because knowing you're just Montana. So
well, the first thing is the people, and that's being in North Dakota at times. There are some good people in North Dakota as well, and there's definitely places around the United States where you experience that kind of just family atmosphere wherever you go. But the first thing is definitely the people. Outside of that, there's also the fact that you can escape the people, go to the mountains, go to the backwoods, get on a stream, get on the Smith. You can just enjoy nature. And I've yet to find somewhere that is more pure than Montana for that. People definitely compare it to Alaska and stuff. I'm like, well, I'm not going to go move up to Alaska.
That's a little far.
Yeah, but I do enjoy Montana a lot. I enjoy both the mountains, the Rockies on the western side, and I enjoy the open plains in the eastern. And being my hometown in Great Falls right in the center of it, I get to enjoy both of the best worlds.
So it's just everything all in once that you kind of ever need. Yeah, I suppose driving through Montana, it's pretty diverse.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of dead on the eastern side, but
Yeah, but
Yeah.
see, even the eastern side, you might only see the plains and everything else, but there's always areas. And if you stop in any town and you're able to convince one of the locals to tell you about their secret spots, trust me, there's always a secret spot that's just beautiful. The trick is finding out about it.
yeah, fair.
Same thing with Great Falls. That's somewhere where a lot of the people, even in Montana, they're gonna talk down about Great Falls. Well, the thing is, they've never explored the area around Great Falls. Centrally located. You've got the sluice boxes off to the east. You've got the Smith, just 15
Sluice
minutes.
box is like finding gold.
It's technically a state park. You've got, so when you're a younger kid, you go there for small cliff jumping. But it's also just a nice little hike. It's a really just picturesque little hike when you go into it. Just a secluded area, close enough to town that you can get there, but far enough away that not everyone is there. You've got Belt, which is its own little unique town just to the east of Montana, or east of Great Falls, excuse me. And just any direction you go, there's always something. You just have to know where it is and how to get there. And the more and more that you're in that area, the more you're going to meet people and kind of get to grow that Montana family, which is the part that I really like.
Nice.
No matter where you are, you know someone who knows someone who knows someone who knows your grandma, like, and it's all connected.
Right.
And yeah, that's really cool. That's my favorite part of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose an additional part that you didn't mention, and kind of the reason brought you on, and as the inaugural guest,
Sure.
is you graduated recently with.
Yes, I'm an exercise science major graduate from the University of Mary in North Dakota, not Montana.
Not Montana.
But that's okay.
Bismarck, North Dakota.
Yeah, but we're getting back to Montana to utilize that and to help people. So with me being in sports, I've always been interested in, how can I perform better? But
Right.
as I've grown up, I've realized, it's not just how I can perform better. I want to help the people around me. And in doing that, I've learned about a lot of benefits that come from sports in and of itself.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean, being an athlete, one of them is exercise, definitely.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And so, just like, I hope everybody has like a general knowledge of exercise, but
Sure.
like, just right off the top of your head, like, what are some great benefits about exercise?
Yeah.
Maybe some that people don't know about.
All right, so one of my favorites, and especially in this day and age, where everyone's got a mental health crisis, it's not to diminish that people have things going on in their lives, but it's definitely worth noting that a simple amount of regular exercise is going to greatly help you combat that. Anxiety and depression, one of the easiest ways that you yourself can go about combating that and becoming a greater positive influence towards fighting that is just doing 30 minutes of walking a day, spending time outside in the sun, getting vitamin D, all of those things. Those will help to build habits that are going to help combat that depression, anxiety. They're also going to usually surround you over time as you go to a gym or as you go walk outside. You're going to see the same people. You're going to start to form relationships. Those kind of things outside of exercise, but still have started because of that exercise, perhaps. Those are going to help to fight those mental illnesses as well.
Right, because like with depression, like one of the biggest things is people usually withdraw. And so by going out, maybe let's say somebody goes out like once a week, right, and goes to the gym, and then they do that for maybe 2 months, right?
Sure.
Because that's all they can bear, and they're pretty isolated. But then they start, maybe they branch out after 2 months. They start branching out and saying hi. Then they start, coming twice a week. And then they see more consistent people. Like I know when I go to the gym, it's like I go at the same time. I see the same people. I've started having conversations like a couple months in, and it's like it builds that community.
Oh,
definitely.
absolutely. And it's been very fun in my life to see, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, I think, when I was back in Montana this past year, taking a year off from school during COVID. It was very fun to experience that with one of my friends who hadn't worked out and see him form those relationships that I've talked about all the time, and in the situations where it was just, we'd go to the gym, we'd go hang out, and I mean, I wouldn't have to make these relationships form for him. They would just organically happen, and it was really awesome to see.
Right. Yeah, no, that's huge. I think that's definitely an underplayed part, and that's honestly something I don't even think about. I think about exercise and it's like It helps, release stress, gets your body flowing. It helps with emotional regulation, stuff like that. But just that community part, that's huge. Yeah, it's huge.
And then as far as other stuff, you already kind of mentioned it, but when you're working out, something that it actually does is helps to reduce the amount of cortisol in your body, which is the stress regulator, essentially, or the stress inducer.
Right.
Is a good way of putting it.
Right.
I mean, that's more in your wheelhouse than mine, but it's definitely worth noting that, like, if you can just kind of remove that from yourself, that's huge too.
Right.
So there's good things that happen on the completely external level, to where it's, I'm going to build this community, I'm going to make new friendships, I'm going to want to get out of the house, and then there's things on the inside like, hey, I have less cortisol in me. That's fantastic.
Right.
That's something people will change their diets, they change their entire lifestyles just to try to avoid that. And exercise can be a good step towards that. Yeah,
absolutely. No, that's big, because people don't think often, with their cortisol, but someone who's anxious, their cortisol levels are going to be way up, on average, right? And so, releasing that cortisol is just something that a lot of people don't think about. And,
absolutely.
And that's one of the great reasons I love exercise. But I'm starting to love exercise again after doing it for Jesse and I were on the track team together, and so we after exercising, like, I kind of gave up on it, right? And I kind of stopped exercising, and then I got back into it finally after 2 years, getting married and like graduating. It's like I finally feel like I'm at a place where I can like work out, and I realize how much I missed it and how like important that is. It's like I've lost, I think, like, one of the bare minimums that has helped me so much is literally just walking.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, we always think of, like, you always go to the gym, right, and you like see somebody running, right, and they look like they want to die. They look like they literally want to die.
Yep.
And I'm like, man, that looks miserable. And it's like, I was a thrower in track, and so I'm just like, I want to walk as much as possible. And it's like, I can walk forever.
Yeah.
And most people can. Most people can, as long as you have both legs and can take steps forwards, like, you can walk for quite a long time.
Yeah. Walking is, I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
Walking is one of those things that's fantastic. It's something to where the bare minimum, like, requirement for exercise to start seeing some major improvements in your life is 30 minutes of walking 3 times a week.
30 minutes 3 times a week.
Tell me you don't have that much time. Like, everyone does.
But no, I'd miss out scrolling.
Oh, yeah, I think you'd survive.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, but 30 minutes 3 times a week, that's the minimum you need to start seeing major improvements in your life. And the biggest thing that's going to cause those improvements over time is just the ability to do it every single day or every single week, getting your 3 times a week in.
Right.
You're going to see those major improvements. Looking at my dad, he was pretty sedentary for a long time. When he started walking, he'd walk during his lunch breaks. And it used to be this little thing where I'm gonna go walk during lunch, and we didn't really make a big deal out of it. Now everyone in Great Falls knows him as that crazy guy who feeds the ducks at Gibson Park every day at lunch. And he's not walking. He's on a mission. He's got stuff to do.
Oh, he's got the whole power walk and everything?
Yeah, he's got stuff to do.
Like Olympic power walk? Like,
I mean, I'm not supposed to say yes, but
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
He's moving, and a lot of people know him. A lot of people have kind of picked up, and I'll mention something about, oh, my dad's walking lunch, and they're like, that's your dad? Yeah. Yeah. So that's kind of funny in a town of 60,000 people.
Right.
That's such a kind of an odd thing that people pick him out of the crowd for that. And they're like, I know him, and I'm like, oh. Okay.
Oh, really?
But while he's been doing that, I mean, the amount of changes I've seen in him, his mindset are fantastic. But then just seeing the changes it's made in his body,
right?
And like he walks almost every day that he's at work. He does have a pretty busy job out at Torgerson's, but when he can, which is 5 to 6 times a week, he's out walking for an hour pretty aggressively. Now, you don't need to be going crazy and get your heart rate up to a crazy high amount, but just get out there and do something.
Right.
If you can start there, that's a good place to start.
Right, because, I mean, we sit down for, 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
At least. It's like we go to work, you wake up from bed, you get up, brush your teeth, shower, whatever, and then you go work, and not like, it seems like 90% of people now, it's like you sit for a majority of your day.
It's absolutely awful. And I mean, and the other side of that is, even when people aren't working, think of all the teams and college kids who are playing video games for
Right.
10 hours a day.
Right.
While I'm someone who definitely enjoys video games, that's not a healthy behavior, just sit in that chair and not move.
Right.
I mean, bare minimum, it kind of resets. It's your basal metabolic rate, the amount of calories that you burn just sitting
Mhm.
there. That drops after you've been sitting there for 15 minutes. So every 15
Really?
minutes, you should stand up, bare minimum. You should stand up, and then you can sit back down, and that kind of resets it to that higher rate of caloric burning.
Just stand up.
Yeah.
Like take a lap around your
Yep.
room.
So like
and
when
sit
we're
back
sitting
down.
here, for every 15 minutes, once we hit that 15 minutes, our caloric intake drops substantially.
So I should have a timer running.
Probably should.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's something to note, that it's when you're sitting there for 8 hours a day and you're just sitting there, your caloric intake or your basal metabolic rate, it drops significantly. So yeah, just that little act of standing up and moving a tiny bit.
Right.
You don't have to even do jumping jacks or push-ups or something. It's not a bad idea.
Right.
But just standing up and getting the basic little bit of blood flow from your legs back up to your heart,
Mhm.
that's a huge step in the right direction.
Mm.
And a lot of these things towards a healthier lifestyle isn't, going to the gym 6 or 7 times a week.
Right.
It's standing up every 10 to 15 minutes or walking on your lunch break.
So what do you think of standing desks then?
Oh, they're fantastic.
Okay.
Well, while I don't enjoy desk jobs, and I don't know if I could ever do one myself,
Right.
if you are doing one, a standing desk is a great way to go. There's also, options of the little under the desk.
Oh, treadmills.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen
There's
those.
treadmills, or there's even a little under the desk ellipticals, and
Yeah, they
all
have little
sorts of
foot
little
pedals.
things. Yeah.
And they have
Yeah.
tons
All
of
of
different
those
stuff.
are also fantastic, but the best thing to do is just go walk at lunch or do something. But whatever you think the right step for you is,
Right.
that is the right thing. The number one thing that's going to make you see a change in your life is just adherence to doing it consistently. When you're looking at something that you can do,
Right.
it's not a matter of, oh well, can I push myself right now hard for 10 minutes? It's no, can I do this every day for the rest of your life? Or can I do this 3 times a week for 30 minutes?
Right. What's
Or-
sustainable?
Sustainability is definitely a key in the right. It's definitely a key that will lead you in the right direction.
Right. Right. And that comes with that idea of like it's sustainable. You're able to adhere to it.
Yeah,
You're able to follow a pattern and be consistent. Yeah, because like you look at Instagram, right? And
Yeah.
you have so many of these like fitness influencers, and this is something I want to bring up.
Sure.
Like you have these fitness influencers who do these like crazy workouts, right? And they're huge, and they got huge biceps. Or like
Mhm.
they're chicks, and they're super fit, and it's
Yeah.
like they're doing crazy workouts for like 2 hours a day. I feel like a lot of people see that, and they're like, crap, I can't work out because this
yeah.
is what it takes to get there.
Yep. That is a unholy mixture of all of the right things going overboard 9 times out of 10. Those are people who are normally severely underweight as far as what their body fat percentage should be. Because when you see a man who's just absolutely shredded, and you can see
Right.
not only the muscles themselves but the muscle fibers, and it just is rippling.
Right,
across
yeah,
his
I've seen,
chest.
yeah, I was just gonna say, I've seen the ripple
Yeah.
chest guy, I forget
It's-
what his name is.
Well, I mean, there's a couple of them, but
Right.
but it's really cool to look at. But at the same time, that's not something that's sustainable for him long term, nor is it healthy.
Right.
And if you want to look like that, that's okay. But you need to understand, if you're starting from a level of an average person who doesn't work out all the time, it's going to take you a long time to get there, and that doesn't make you super healthy, because
Right.
that's going past the point of just working out and being active to the point of there's a fair chance that a lot of them, these influencers who make their money and their career off of people having impressions of them, likes, comments, photos, buying things that they are promoting, all of that stuff relies on how they look. So they're going to use things, performance enhancing drugs. They're going to use Photoshop a lot. And
Right.
that's not saying that
Wait, you're saying that Instagram influencers aren't clean?
Oh, I would never say that. But when that's happening, a lot of them are utilizing that because it is their livelihood. That's how they make money.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that, it's maybe an extra inch on my bicep is gonna be what's gonna cause all these people to buy whatever I'm promoting.
Right.
Or they're gonna think, oh, this guy knows how to program correctly for lifting. I should buy one of these $1,000 programs.
Right. And then it's this super huge thing that's way overboard that, I hate using the term average, but I it's like the average person can't do.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's like Joe Blow, you know, working at, you know, a bank, you know, he can't do that because it's, one, not feasible because he's got, you know, a family.
Yep.
Two, it's not feasible because, you know, he's never worked out in his life, so he doesn't know what half these things are. And three, it's like, yeah, he's gonna do that maybe once, and then like,
Think, oh man, that was hell.
right.
I can never do that again. I'm sore and laid up in bed for the next 5 days before it feels like I can walk again.
Right.
Yeah. That stuff tends to be over the top, and there's not saying that people don't know what they're doing, but just because someone looks like they know what they're doing,
Right.
that doesn't mean a whole lot nowadays.
Yeah.
Because there
Absolutely.
are people who program for them, there are people going to guide them through stuff.
Right.
Ultimately, they just have to listen.
Right.
Now, on kind of the opposite side of that same thing, if you're someone who's new to working out and you find someone who's a trusted person, not a trusted influencer,
Right.
and you find someone in your community or walking or at the gym perhaps, and you find someone who people respect, not just because they're big, but because they know what they're talking about, someone who has some sort of education or looks at actual research studies, someone who not only talks the talk, but is able to just actually explain why.
Right.
That kind of stuff, that's going to be, well, they're going to be able to help you out, and you just have to do it then.
Right.
Now, that's not saying everyone needs to go in and have a perfect plan.
Right.
It's just going back to that starting point of, I want you to do something.
Right. Right.
Once you do
Standing
something-
15 minutes. Right. Or standing every 15 minutes. Getting up, walking around your office. Getting up, and working out 3 times a week for 30 minutes. Going on a walk. It doesn't even have to be on a treadmill. It can be outside.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Or it could be around your apartment. If you don't live in a safe area, like you could just do it in your apartment. You could just walk.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I think, too many people, it seems like, just have this expectation that it's like, if I'm gonna work out, I have to be up here. Like, she's probably gonna hate me for this, but like when my wife and I started working out,
I'm not a part of this.
Sorry, Bryn. She was terrified of like, what are people gonna think? What are people, and like, she's not someone who typically thinks what other people are gonna think. But like, you go on Instagram and you see all these people, and they know exactly what they're doing. They're doing face pulls, and they're doing whatever, God knows what. And it's like, there's this expectation that it's because I don't know what that is, I can't work out.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna do it wrong. And it's like, no. And it took a couple weeks, and then she finally was like able to just go in and now we have fun when we go work out. But it's like, I can't imagine being that average person, not average person, but just someone who hasn't worked out, right? And then just going in with this expectation, and then like doing something wrong, like, and this is where like the spotlight effect comes in, right? And then it's like, everybody's watching me, I don't know what I'm doing, and you're like trying to do a bicep curl, and you're doing it fine, but you watched one Instagram guy say that you have to do this way, and then it's like, I'm not doing this right. Everybody thinks I'm a loser. Oh yeah. And it's like, then you leave and never come back.
Absolutely.
And you go back to eating Mountain Dew and Doritos. And it's like,
it doesn't take a lot of doing anything to do the right thing, but to do the perfect thing, that's where everyone wants to nickel and dime themselves and say, oh, I can do this to 95%, but I can't do the last 5% of whatever it is. Or I don't know exactly, the angle. If I'm doing shoulder press, there's this movement of shoulder press going on where you don't want to come here to the side, you want to go in the scapular planes, 30 to 45 degrees forward, which, that's something to where the research is starting to support it. But when people are looking at that, they're like, oh, if I wasn't doing that right, that's just another thing that I didn't know. Well, no, this might not be optimal, but it's still better than just sitting here or playing games all day or doing whatever. It still beats that kind of stuff by a mile. So yeah, the moral of the story of that is just do something. There's going to be people out there who are going to laugh at you no matter what, and there's going to be people who support you no matter what. So just do what you're going to do, and that doesn't just apply to working out, it applies to literally anything in your life. I mean, at the end of the day, if you do whatever you're doing with confidence, you're probably not going to get questioned. Yeah.
Absolutely. So keeping in line with like the exercise, exercise is one part of getting healthy.
Sure.
Nutrition You know, that's that other half.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard people say that exercise is 20%, nutrition's 80%.
Mhm.
Where do you fall on that?
It's it's very, very important.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the first thing that people kind of go back and forth on, and a lot of influencers are trying to claim right now, is, you know, if I eat the right calories, so if I eat maybe 30% carbs, 40% protein, 30% fats, or
Right.
whatever their magic ratio is,
Right, in their
then,
macros.
then I'm not, in their
Yeah.
macros, then I'm not going to gain weight no matter what, or I'm going to be able to put on weight, but it's only going to be muscle, or, you know, XYZ, whatever it takes to sell their product, or have people
Right.
think that they know what they're doing.
Right.
They're going to say, well, this is the right thing. The first statement is just that it's calories in versus calories out. That is far and away the biggest contributor to whether you are losing or gaining mass. From there, once you start kind of looking at, you know, if I'm gaining a pound a week, which is a sustainable rate, and that's also a sustainable rate for losing weight, is a pound a week. Much more than that in either direction, it's probably not going to be very healthy.
Right.
If you're losing weight, you're going to be losing too much lean muscle mass.
Mhm.
If you're gaining weight, it's probably putting on too much fat at a time, and that's going to be hard to try to take that fat and then work towards using it as muscle.
Right.
So you don't want to gain much more than a pound, maybe a pound and a half, 2 pounds if you're a very, very big guy.
Right.
And you don't want to lose more than a pound a week. It's just not necessarily the healthy thing to do. Now, if you're someone who's severely overweight but you've never worked out, losing more than a pound a week isn't the end of the world, because you're not going to be having a ton of lean muscle mass to lose in the first place.
Right.
But as you get down to, you know, a lower body fat percentage, those kind of numbers start to play a little bit more of a role of, well, how closely do I need to like get that ratio to a pound, or maybe
Right.
half a pound per week.
So what's the best way to like kind of moderate your diet? You know,
Yeah.
what, like, because we talk about macros, you know, 30% carbs, fats, you know.
Sure.
I feel like a lot of people fat count,
Yeah.
right? You know, it's like, how much fat am I having? Is it saturated? Is it unsaturated? You know, but, you know, what is the right way to look at that,
Yeah.
you know, in your eyes?
Yeah, so for me right now, there's the simple things that I preach about having a protein-centric diet.
Okay.
From there, the rest of your diet does tend to fall into place pretty easily. It just naturally lines up with what you're making. So if you're making a steak for dinner, but then you also have in, you know, you're going to be cooking that in either some oil or some butter or tallow. That's going to be
Right.
some of your fats, plus there's fat in that steak.
Right.
So you're going to get some fats there. You're also going to probably throw some carbs on the side, and then you're going to add some, you know, fruits or veggies, probably veggies if you're going steak. And so that kind of stuff, it naturally tends to find a good balance of, you know, this is just going to line up right most of the time. Now, if you're someone who's on keto or some specific diet, that's kind of a different story. But just for a generalized healthy diet, and if you're trying to either put on weight or lose weight, I would say that being protein-centric, having, you know, a gram of protein per pound of body fat.
Gram of protein per body fat.
Yeah, that's kind of on the higher end of, you know, protein intake. But there are people who do 1.5 grams per pound of body fat.
Right.
It's like for me, I'm sitting at 175 to 185 at a given time right now. In order for me to gain weight, I'm doing, you know, a gram per pound of body fat of protein a day. That's the goal. That's a fair amount of protein.
That's a lot of protein. Yeah. I remember, like, during track, like being a thrower, it was like I was very, very concentrated, you know, because I knew that, you know, being mindful of my protein was good, and I kind of had the idea. I read on like tons of fitness articles, like, hey, you should have 1 gram per body fat, you know, or 1 gram per pound of fat,
Sure.
and that's a lot. Like, I was weighing, I think like 287 pounds was my heaviest, and it's like I was getting that every day, and it was miserable.
Yeah, it can
Like,
be a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And you know, the biggest thing again, sustainability,
Right.
and finding a way to be able to do that at a consistent rate. Now,
Right.
if you're an athlete, your goals are going to be a little bit different. Being a thrower, you can have a higher body fat percentage. You don't need just that pure lean muscle mass. But like being a sprinter or a jumper like I am,
Right.
you know, if I've got a 50% body fat, that's a lot of body fat. I'd also be massive.
I would love to see someone with 50% that's so much body fat.
It is.
But it's like, to do triple jump. I think that'd be hilarious.
But just thinking about the pure amount of weight that is.
I'm just picturing it now.
Yeah, no, man. But thinking about just the pure amount of weight that is such a significant change to where, you can lose, again, you can go down, you can lose more than a pound a week, but that'd be a lot of extra weight to have to carry through the air to fight gravity with, to have as weight that's not helping propel you against the ground when you're jumping. So it does kind of depend a little bit if you're sport specific. But just for, again, a generalized person, if you're trying to put on muscle or lose weight but keep your muscle, a high protein intake is definitely important. That's not saying you have to do keto, because keto is a completely separate diet where you're putting your body in a state of ketoacidosis, completely different thing that I'm not even going to try and touch today. There is good information out there, but at the end of the day, whether it's keto, a DASH diet, whatever diet you're doing, as long as it's not some little fad diet, if you are able to sustain it long term, that's 10 times more important than whatever diet you pick.
Got you. So like sustainability would be like something not sustainable would be like those 30-day like liquid diets that like I don't know, Jenny Craig or somebody does.
Yeah, we're not gonna ever promote those. No. Those are not healthy. They're definitely not sustainable. There is you can go online and you can just search how much food you should be eating, how many calories you should be intaking, and you can see what your estimated basal metabolic rate would be.
Right, and that's why it's important to stand every 15 minutes at your desk to keep that up.
Yep. And so things like that are definitely important. Yep. But when you're looking at the sustainability of a diet, well, do you like what you're eating? Because something else that I've been seeing more and more as people tend to have a tough time saying, oh, well, I don't want to eat chicken, rice, and broccoli every meal every day for the rest of my life.
That was a miserable diet.
Yeah, it's not good. But
man.
If you can do chicken maybe 2 or 3 times a week, but then so like me and my sister, we love steak. Yeah. We love steak. Yeah. So we eat a lot of it. Last year I was eating steak 5 times a week minimum. But I was able to gain a healthy amount of weight. Yeah, it was fantastic.
That sounds fantastic.
I loved it.
Oh,
it was expensive.
Didn't you show up somewhere with a bowl of steak one time?
Yeah, I showed up to his bachelor party with a bowl of steak that I had made.
It was the craziest thing. He just shows up in his truck. He ate it for like the next 2 days. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I didn't know if they would eat it well.
I totally forgot about that.
I definitely did too. But yeah, it was important to me that I got my protein in, and I just enjoyed steak, and it was something that I could cook. I knew it wasn't going to go bad right away, and it still tasted good even if it's cold. Right. But yeah, so that was something to where I found a type of food that I liked that was healthy enough. People can argue, whether steak is or isn't, how much fat there is. Right. I'm not going to even go into the semantics of that kind of stuff. But I found a food that I enjoyed. I was able to plan my other foods around it. Right. And then from there, I was able to look at how many calories roughly I was taking in, because I didn't do true calorie counting. Right. And from there, I was like, okay, I'm in a slight calorie surplus, and I was able to gain healthy weight. And I was actually, probably for the first time in my life, in that year, putting on muscle. That had never happened, because I've always been an athlete to where I'd wake up at 5 or 6 in the morning, and then I'd either have some sort of practice in the morning or workout, whether it was cross country, which pays to be a small guy, or track, basketball, whatever else. But then I would do drumming stuff, go through the day, and then I'd have practice after school, cross country, track, basketball, and so I was always busy. I would end up burning a lot of calories, and then even when I wasn't doing those things, whatever little few things I was doing in between, they tend to be pretty active. If I had a free period, I'd go play ultimate frisbee. If you're doing some sort of cardio for roughly an hour, that's burning 400 to 500 calories pretty easily. Right. Now, if you don't take that into account, especially on top of the other practices, well, you can see why I was called malnourished. Because I'm sitting there at
string bean,
1,000 pounds or 1,000 calories, 1,000 calories less than what my maintenance intake would be, and I'm eating 1,000 less each day. And so if you look at that over the course of a week, that's 7,000 less calories. That's 2 pounds, because 3,500 calories is roughly a dietary pound. So I was, quote unquote, in a deficit of 2 pounds a week. That's pretty pretty significant.
Right.
And for being a 3-sport athlete, that was very intense.
Right.
So when I was able to realize, hey, I need to actually provide for my body,
right,
in order to maintain and grow.
Mm-hmm.
Once I started doing that, because I knew about it for a while,
right,
but it wasn't until I started acting on it and consciously putting in some effort where I was like, holy crap, I'm
Right.
not 120 pounds anymore.
right,
Like, because my freshman year of high school, I was probably 6'2" and $135.
That's a post.
Yeah, it
It's
was
like,
bad. But I was
bad.
cross country, and that it made sense, but it was tough.
Right.
And so I was able to put on weight up to a reasonable amount where I was sitting at 165 by the end of my senior year of high school. But I was 6'3", 165. That's still not a big guy.
Right.
But then that last year in Bozeman, when I was eating healthy, eating a lot, and kind of keeping up with what my intake should be versus how much energy I was expending in playing fall or ultimate frisbee or whatever I was doing, I was able to get up to 200 pounds, which was a lot from that $135 freshman year of high school. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Nutrition, man. That makes a difference.
Yeah, it really does. Oh, and I guess to answer your first question of what percentage, I guess, does nutrition play a part in that overall percentage of health, whether it's nutrition versus working out, I'd say 60-40, and that's pretty
60-40,
generous.
okay.
Yeah, to where nutrition might even be more important than that.
Okay.
But just if you can have the generalized plan of, I need to be somewhere around 3,000 calories,
Right.
2,500 calories, whatever it is for you.
Right.
Go to that online tracker. You can search, what is my Basal Metabolic Rate?
I'll put it in there. I'll find one and I'll put it in there for you.
Yeah.
You can just click on it down below.
And just fill in your information, and it'll give you a rough estimate of how many calories you should eat a day. From there, maybe track it for 2 or 3 days and see how you feel. And you kind of go from there.
Track it.
Or just eat enough, but don't eat too much. It's
Eat
that
enough.
simple.
Eat enough that's probably good for you.
Yeah.
Like my wife and I, we've been doing not a whole food diet, but it's pretty much a whole food diet where we don't have anything that's like compounded foods, except for like sausage and stuff, because I don't really want to make sausage. But it's like, we eat steak and then we have Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Or we, it's never like we're not eating like Chef Boyardee, in a can.
Yeah.
As much as I'd love that, we're not doing that. We make our own, from all scratch, and honestly, that's been fun. It
can be a ton of fun. You can get new experiences with it.
Right.
It allows for an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Experience new things, but then it's also significantly healthier.
Right.
If you're looking to take that first step into saying, how can I be a little bit healthier with my food? Don't even worry about calorie counting. Worry about, can I eat all whole foods or mostly whole foods? That's going to make a significant difference.
And get rid of your seed oils, okay? Get rid of them, because they kill you, okay? They just kill you.
It's a little bit farther down the line, but yes.
Like 55, dead, okay? The whole life of canola oil, you're dead.
Look into your seed oils if you are past the point of calorie counting and whole foods.
Or dead.
Or dead.
But honestly, I was having I don't know why I just triggered that, but I was having such a hard time with my hands, where it's like I would eat something that was maybe fried or cooked, and it had a seed oil.
Yep.
I remember one time I ate fried chicken from the grocery store, and from their deli, and it was cooked in, I think, peanut oil, and I got home, ate it, and then that night at 3 a.m, I woke up and some of the most excruciatingly painful just jolts through my hands that I've ever felt in my life.
Sure.
And I had a problem with cramping, and I noticed that I started tracking what I was eating, and it was those seed oils, it's vegetable oil, it's canola oil, and it was just causing all this inflammation. And inflammation is, I'm sure kills you.
Yeah.
Chronic inflammation.
Yep.
I mean, it's so damaging to your arteries, to your telomeres, to literally just everything.
Yeah, that's definitely, it's a little bit farther down the rabbit hole, but it's definitely worth looking into.
Right.
lot of people, that's something that's kind of brand new in what's coming out in literature recently, and yeah, that's definitely worth looking into.
Yeah.
Because it's not something that I had thought about 5 years ago.
Oh, definitely not.
And the more and more I looked into it, I'm like, oh,
it's like crap.
yeah, that's not good.
Right.
Yeah, so looking into different alternatives, healthier alternatives, because a fat doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad.
Right.
But there are some fats that are bad. There's also some carbs that are bad, and there's also some proteins that, no, protein's the best.
No, protein.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of, I guess, talking about protein, like supplements.
Sure.
Because we're talking about nutrition, it's like you talk about steak, great source of protein-centric diet. On Instagram, again, just pull back there. It's like gym bros and protein shakes. It's like, how, what are your thoughts?
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull it back and we're going to look at what's sustainable for you for protein intake. And it's like, for me, that was making meat. I enjoy the process of cooking meat, and I enjoy the process of eating it. I think it tastes good. It's a good centerpiece for a meal. That's fantastic. Yeah. Now some people don't like meat all that much, Emily, but now they're getting there. But as as it starts, if you maybe don't enjoy meat or you don't enjoy eating an excess of protein sources to get to that, for me, 175 grams of protein.
Yep.
If you don't want to just eat meat or other protein sources for that, shakes are a good way to get there. Now when you're looking at it, for me, I can't do protein shakes, which it's not something I love to even admit, because it's like they taste good, especially if they're made right, but then they're just easy. It costs like $1.50 per protein shake.
Right, it's like super cheap per serving.
Yeah, and so you just protein powder and milk is the baseline. Like, don't do protein shakes in water, just don't.
It's disgusting.
But protein powder and milk, it doesn't cost a whole lot, and it's a nice little shake. From there, you can always add stuff to it. Add oats, bananas, peanut butter if you're trying to bulk up. Yeah, it's not that difficult. But like, for me, protein shakes, no matter what I did, no matter how much I changed my fiber intake, they would just go through me very quickly. And that's something to where it's not unheard of for people to eat protein or intake protein and then have it go through them very quickly. But for me, it was strictly protein shakes. So from that, I was like, okay, well, I enjoy eating steak all the time, so it wasn't that big of a deal for me.
Right. Steak's super high in protein.
Yeah, I just didn't have to worry about protein shakes, and I just replaced them with steak and chicken, which I enjoy to eat anyway.
Right.
Now that being said, I also wasn't doing the blanched chicken that just tastes awful. Put some spices on it, add some salt, make it taste
salt, pepper, some Tony's Cajun seasoning.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot, but
throw it in the air fryer.
Yeah, something that one influencer from TikTok who I enjoy, she always says, season with your heart, and I mean she does, and it looks fantastic.
Right.
And it might not be as good for you, might not be as nutritionally healthy for you as if you were super sparse with seasoning or didn't season it at all, but then it tastes like crap. Enjoy what you're eating so you can do it long term, so you can adhere to it, so it can be sustainable. Right,
and the seasoning that you put on and the sodium that you get, you can take that out by skipping the Cheetos and the Mountain Dew, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you can skip it out.
Absolutely.
And it's like, come on, it's like season your food. I'm just thinking about all the terrible meals I made when I was trying to be lean.
I don't want to think about it.
Oh, gross.
It's bad.
Anyway, so in line with supplements, we have vitamins. So give me like your top 3 vitamins.
Okay, so I mean, vitamin D is an easy one that you should be doing your own part in, being outside to get.
Right.
And that does line up with what I was talking about earlier with the gym, with make an effort to, if you're walking, walk outside, that kind of stuff. If you can work out outside, do it. Form those relationships, and it's going to be even easier to want to be outside. Here in the northern states, it's a little bit tougher to be outside the entire year. Slightly so.
I mean, I have the last blizzard we had. I saw someone trekking outside. They were cruising.
It's definitely doable.
There was no sun.
Yeah.
There's no sun. They were doing it.
Yeah, but so vitamin D is a good one, but should still probably be supplemented. Magnesium is another good one. That's going to help with almost every process in your body. Magnesium and calcium are two huge ones.
Okay.
And these are both technically electrolytes. Fun fact, people don't know that. But magnesium and calcium are ones that are going to be used in your body at a cellular level as cellular communicators, basically. Very, very important. Magnesium also helps with sleep. As someone who doesn't sleep a lot, yeah, magnesium helps.
Yeah, and it helps you. It's not like melatonin where it like puts you to sleep. It keeps you asleep. So once you get done with all your racing thoughts and sitting up watching TikToks or whatever, it's like you put your phone down, and also put your phone down when you sleep. Right before you go to bed. Put it down half hour before. That's huge, right? But just going to bed, magnesium helps you stay asleep. My wife actually stopped taking it because she was sleeping so well. She was hitting her REM sleep, and she's just like having these crazy dreams. And she's like, I don't want to dream like that, so she stopped taking it. And she's like, I'm okay with like subpar sleep.
Fair enough. So yeah, magnesium, good one. Calcium, also good. Drink your milk. Milk is good. Milk is not gross.
Whole milk.
I won't tolerate.
You also get vitamin D supplements in whole milk.
Yeah. So, vitamin D, calcium, magnesium, and then the bonus one, which is actually the most important and I haven't talked about yet, is creatine. You can do. There's the different forms of creatine, and I'm not going to argue semantics on which one is better and which one is worse. But I'm going to say that if you're working on building muscle, take creatine. A lot of people are confused on what creatine is, and then they're confused on is it good or bad, and how good or bad is it. Some people are thinking, well, is creatine a steroid? Well, that's not necessarily true either. So all creatine is a protein source.
Okay.
So when you're looking at the body, and you're looking at, we'll just say weightlifting, because that's kind of the general theme for getting stronger and becoming healthier, aside from cardio exercise, and that's kind of a whole nother topic. But creatine is simply an energy source. It's one that your body already utilizes. So when you're looking at creatine, there's three main energy sources or energy pathways in your body when you're looking at exercise. There's the creatine phosphokinase pathway.
Creatine phosphokinase.
Yeah, so that's basically creatine phosphates, and then it kind of goes on from there. But it's the first energy pathway that you utilize when you're doing something. So for the first 4 to 6 to 8 seconds, depending on how much creatine you have stored up in your body, that's utilized first, and then it's burned out. And once it's gone, it has to start recharging.
Okay. Now, how long does that take?
For creatine, it takes roughly 2 to 3 minutes for a very, very healthy person who has a lot of creatine already in their body. Now it can take up to 5 minutes, so that's why when people are waiting between sets, you should wait probably 5 minutes if you have the time, because your body doesn't have that energy source. That's why I don't like going back and forth and supersetting 2 exercises just because they're different muscles. Because they might be different muscles, but you still don't have that full creatine, taken back up and able to be used at that time.
Right. So you probably actually just because like supersetting, I know is probably still big. I'm not sure. I don't follow a lot of gym bros, but I know like a few years ago, like it was like superset.
It definitely is. It can be utilized to save time if you need to.
Right.
If you have time in the gym, just do your exercise. Wait. Take your 3 to 5 minute break. And then from there, do your next set. So you can have that full energy backup. If you're doing set after set after set, and you're going up in weight on all of them, that's already going to make it tougher. And then from there, if you're just taking away your energy source because you're not getting time to come back up and fill back up your energy stores, you're wasting a rep or two in every single set at the beginning, right off the bat. That's not going to help you in the long run. It's not going to hurt you that much.
Right.
I mean, if you're in a hurry, it's not the end of the world. But if you've got time, relax between your sets.
Right, because that helps you rebuild that creatine. Goes, what is it again? It's a mouthful.
Creatine phosphokinase pathway.
Yes, that one.
Okay. So that's the first step. And then from there, we've got the anaerobic pathway that we utilize for energy. So that's what's going to happen when you're running 400 and 800. And then we just have the aerobic pathway, which is going to help long term. So even when you're doing the creatine phosphokinase pathway and you're utilizing that, the anaerobic pathway is that's the next energy source that's going to be utilized. And then from there, the aerobic energy pathway those do kind of all use different fuel sources. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at lifting and getting stronger, that first one you're going to use is that creatine phosphokinase one. Well, now if you're taking in creatine at 5-10 milligrams a day, that's literally just extra energy that you can utilize.
Okay.
And so yeah, that's something. It also can be found. Fun fact, in red meats. I had a fair amount when I was eating steak that often.
Right.
Yeah, so that's something to where it's not unhealthy. Creatine is definitely a good thing to utilize.
Now, does it help you during the day with your energy too? Like, just like...
It can. For the most part, you're not, I mean, when you're just sitting here, you're not burning a lot of energy in the fact of, you know, when I lift this up, it takes a little bit of energy, but it doesn't take much more than your body can produce naturally.
Gotcha.
Before you start breaking up that ATP into ADP, so adenosine triphosphate versus adenosine diphosphate. That's kind of where, you know, right now I can just do this. It doesn't take almost any energy compared to, you know, if I'm trying to rip 300 pounds off the ground for deadlifting. I'm a skinny guy. It's but it's like, you know, it's going to take a significantly less amount of energy as compared to, you know, going and working out. So, you know, this isn't going to necessarily trigger that first pathway. Right. But, yeah.
Gotcha.
And then the other thing with creatine is that when you're looking at it, there's a little bit of fear that, well, first off, it's not a steroid. That's just, yeah. But there's a little bit of fear that it causes hair loss. Someone who is probably going to be bald sooner than later, thanks, Dad. It's not something that's going to cause balding. There's one single research study out there right now that shows that there's a chance that it can, you know, cause some hair loss.
Just one.
I've seen one.
Okay.
If there's others out there, I haven't been apparently diligent enough in looking for them, but I found one. And so in that one that I found, the thing is when you're looking at hair loss and you're looking at creatine, there's a nice little thing called a confounding variable in the middle, to where when you're lifting more of any kind, your body's going to start to produce more testosterone. As you lift more, there's a protein or a hormone equivalent from testosterone that's derived from testosterone, and it's DHT. And so that is going to actually increase your hair loss. So it's not the creatine that's causing hair loss. It's the increased amounts of testosterone from you lifting more. And you know, that's something to where if you want to use Rogaine or whatever other hair loss supplement or whatever.
Or if you want to go natural, I hear rosemary.
Yes, rosemary is actually that is a good alternative.
Yeah.
But that's something to where creatine isn't what's actually causing that. So don't fearmonger creatine just because, you know, you haven't looked into the literature there.
Right, and it's like everybody gets toupees now anyway. It's like our 45th president had it. It's like Elon Musk got, you know, hair jobs. It's like everybody gets it anyway. It's like don't fear it.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Gains in health are way better. So it doesn't help during the like day necessarily, you know, because we're not typically using that energy up, but as opposed to like what our body can make. But so during the day too, another good vitamin that I've been taking is B12.
Yep, B12 is fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely, you know, if that's something where if you're struggling with anxiety and depression, that's an easy way to kind of help. You know, it's not going to fight it off entirely.
Right.
But if you can take little steps towards getting yourself in a better mindset and, you know, getting outside, forming good relationships, do everything you can first. Don't create a lifestyle and then go ask your doctor for a pill to take care of it.
Right.
Create a lifestyle to where that's not going to be as much of an issue. If it still happens, there's nothing wrong with getting help in that sense. There's nothing wrong with, you know, going to therapy and asking for help. But it's definitely something where you want to create the lifestyle to where that's not predominantly going to happen.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Create the lifestyle.
Yeah. When you look at, you know, a lot of people who are sitting inside playing video games all day, and I've been guilty of it.
Right. Same.
You're not in the best mindset.
No.
And it's difficult to hear then because I was very much in denial. I'm like, oh, shut up.
Right. It's like you don't know anything. It's like, what? I can sit in here for 18 hours straight, and you know, I'm talking to friends online.
Oh yeah.
Right. I'm getting socialization.
No.
There's nothing that equates. Not even Zoom can equate to this.
Yes.
In-person conversation, connection. There's energy. There's feelings. There's emotion, and all of that can be felt. You can't feel that over a screen in a whatever over a phone call, over text. You can't get it. Certainly not in a Snapchat of the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
you can't get that no matter what.
It's very tough. You definitely want to kind of reduce your screen time and focus on what you can do in the real world, how you can make a legacy, make significance for yourself.
Yeah.
And then if you want to dial it back and just say, hey, I'm going to go for a walk today, and all of a sudden we're back at that walking for 3 minutes 30 times a week. Like it's that simple.
3 minutes 30 times a week.
Yeah.
3 minutes 30 times a week. That's probably actually super doable.
It's still 90 minutes. It still gets there. So yeah, I mean, whatever you need to do to get your 90 minutes of exercise a week. Yeah. But that's how simple it is, and that's how much all of this stuff does overlap.
Right.
And you know, it's a small little cycle where one of my favorite books that I read was A Compound Effect, and you know, it's talking about you're going to make all of these decisions in your life, and it gave the example of, well, there's this one gentleman who wants to do better in his job, and there's this one gentleman who thinks that he's not doing as well in his job, and that little mindset change, that's going to set one of them up for failure and one of them up for success. And it talks about how over time, you know, they start here, and this is the projected path they're on.
Right.
But that one guy, he had that little bit of, I think I'm going to do better. This guy had a little bit, I think I'm going to do worse. And you know, as it kept going, things kept changing and changing and changing. And it was like, all right, well, this guy got promoted because X, Y, Z happened. And, you know, of course, it has the whole, well, what were all of the other little things in between there? But the first thing was just that mindset change.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with, you know, health in general. One little thing can be the catalyst to start changing.
Right.
And that's true for the rest of your life as well. Because, I mean, all of this stuff does impact the rest of your life. You can start doing nutrition and fitness in, you know, just the bare minimum sense. That's going to apply to the rest of your life, whether you realize it or not. It does make a significant difference.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just those small steps. I mean, that's what we talk about so much in therapy. There's been so many times where it's so funny to see people, not in like a rude sense or anything, but it's just funny to see people who, you know, start to acknowledge like the little things they do, right? Well, I got out of bed.
Yeah.
And when you're depressed, when you're really depressed,
that's amazing.
that is huge, right? And so it's like you're depressed, you got out of bed. But depressed people won't think about that. If you're depressed, you probably won't think about that. It's like, oh great, I got out of bed. I didn't die or something. You know, it's like, great, okay. And I pulled myself out, you know, bed, and I didn't make the bed. I'm such a loser. But it's like, well, you got out of bed. You know, you took a few steps, you went to the bathroom. And it's the same thing with exercise. It's like, okay, I got up, I went to the gym, and I walked on the treadmill for 10 minutes. Maybe it wasn't the 30 minutes. I walked on the treadmill for 10 minutes, and then I got embarrassed because it's like, oh, people are just watching me walk here.
Sure.
But then it's like, you went back home, and then you're like, okay, but then you do it again.
Yep.
You do it again.
And
you do it again.
I mean, that kind of stuff, it's simple because when it comes down to it, it might just be going to that gym as the first step. You don't even work out. You just go to the gym and you are there for a little bit.
Right.
You get a tiny bit more comfortable.
You can
It's just
hang out in the bathroom
a little bit better than you did yesterday. That's going to make a huge difference in the long run.
If signing up for a gym membership knocks you out for a week,
well, you got
go
the
for
gym
it.
membership.
You got the gym membership. You know, go for it next week. Go one time next week. And like, you know, go hang out in the bathroom, or, you know, like, I don't know, kind of walk around and then leave. You can do that. That's fine. And then, but you could slowly watch people and say, okay, you know, don't be creepy, because, you know, at the gym that gets kind of creepy, but, you know, you're probably not creepy, okay? Probably not creepy. But it's like, walk around and see that everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and then leave. That's fine too. Right? But it's slowly creating that lifestyle, right? It's creating that little baby steps, and then we find slowly in that we start to find consistency. And when we start to acknowledge where we've come from and the consistency we've established now, it's like, it's huge. It's huge. And so many people don't realize this, right? And so going back to like the therapy thing, it's like when you tell people this, like, hey, no, you did this thing, they're like, whoa, I guess I did do that. And they're like, well, could I keep doing it? And they'll ask that, right? Because they're not sure. They're not sure if they can. But it's like, can I keep doing that? I don't know. Can you? Can you? You know, keep getting out of bed?
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose I could. All right, how about, going and calling one person randomly? No, that's too much, okay. No. All right. And it's like, all right, how about going to the gym? And it's like, well, no, I can't do that either. And it's so mixed. And it's like just one step at a time.
Yeah, it can make a huge difference before you even realize it. Yeah, definitely worth keeping in mind how much all of this stuff does overlap and how one aspect can completely change the rest of your life.
Yeah, it's huge. It's so powerful, because it's like you don't think about it, but it's like all of these things. I mean, you look on Instagram and it's like they seem like glorified, big things, super huge, protein shakes. I gotta have this powder. I've gotta have this thing. I've gotta have that thing. And it's like I gotta know how to do this, that, and the other thing. And it's like just doing it. The worst thing you could ever do is not do anything.
Yep.
Because it's like then you're still sitting in the hole.
Absolutely.
And I think, and there's so many just correlates with just every part of life, especially just mental health. Exercise is so key. I know, like exercising in the winter, it makes my life way less miserable.
Yeah.
When it gets dark at 4 o'clock, and it's like you don't see the sun, for more than 8 hours, and it's like great. I was inside the whole time.
It's tough to start doing, but once you do it, you look back and you're like, wow, that was not that significant of a change, and it's completely changed my life.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there is a reason why I want to look at doing things related to exercise, health, fitness for the rest of my life, because it can be the thing that makes that difference in someone's life. You don't have to necessarily be a counselor to make that difference. You can just take the one little step and you can start things going. And if if I can be that person in the community who helps them, if I can be the person at the gym who helps them, if I can give them a single piece of advice, if I can tell them, hey, eat a little bit more protein, be a little bit more conscientious about your intake, or hey, you want to go on a walk today? That kind of stuff can be just a little catalyst that starts a giant ball over downhill. Yep.
100%. It's doing it, and it snowballs. Soon maybe you are, a fitness influencer on Instagram, and if that's what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like maybe you are, if it's your goal to get a girl or a guy, it's like it's like do it, It's like maybe you're there, maybe you're, your body image has been, the bane of your existence for your whole life, and then it's like you start doing one thing right at a time. And it's like you do it over and over and over again. It's like that compounds and it becomes just this giant snowball.
Yeah.
And you just barrel through life, man. And no one can stop you then. Like you are like unstoppable. And sometimes, there might be things that chip at that snowball, right? It's not like it just keeps growing all the time. And it's not to say that there are bigger snowballs, but it's like you just keep going. You do you.
Absolutely.
And I think we just get so caught up in this social media realm that it's like comparison. It's like compare yourself to you, man. It's like concern yourself with yourself. It's like just because Johnny has been, lifting weights for the last 15 years, it's like doesn't mean that you can't.
You can't start.
You can't start. So to wrap up here, I got 5 questions for you.
Sure.
So we're going to do this. It's called the Final 5.
Okay.
All right. First podcast, give me a break. So the Final 5 is the first one.
Okay.
What's your guilty pleasure movie?
That's a tough one. I'm not gonna say any one movie, because there's a couple that kind of fit in the category.
All right.
But I would just say this is growing up with 2 sisters. I'm gonna blame them for this entirely.
Oh boy.
Because I enjoy comedy, but growing up with 2 sisters, I've experienced a lot of chick flicks and rom-coms, and I actually really enjoy romantic comedies.
Okay.
Don't ever tell anyone. But I really enjoy romantic comedies.
Right. Keep it here.
Yeah.
Keep it here.
And I don't know what it is about them specifically, whether it's just the fact that it's somewhat real, or Paul Rudd always seems to be in them. But
Paul Rudd always does seem to be in them. That's fair.
But something about a good chick flick, I'm just like, you know what? That was a pretty good movie. Yeah.
That's fair.
Mhm.
That's fair. No, I find sentiment with that. Yeah. All right, number 2.
Okay.
What's your favorite book?
That's actually, so I already talked about the compounding effect, but there's 2 other ones. I'm going to give a quick runner-up to How to Win Friends and Influence People
Okay.
by Carnegie. Fantastic book. If you haven't read it, definitely do.
Okay, I'll put a link in the description.
Yeah, that's a fantastic one. It's, a lot of people have read it. It's not an unknown book, but I should definitely check it out. I'd say my favorite book, it's become more popular in the past couple of years. I'm going to say I was a hipster because I found it a long time ago. But it's by an author from South America, Paulo, and it's called The Alchemist. And it's a story about karma and love and the soul of the world. And, you know, you can take a lot of lessons from it, but it was ultimately just like, you know, whatever you want, you need to find the courage to ask for it. But first you need to find out what it is, and then you need to find the courage to ask for it.
Right.
From there, you know, you can pursue it, you can go on whatever path you want. But once you find that end goal, you can work your way backwards and push towards it. And it's a fantastic, shorter novel actually. It's like 150 to 200 pages or something. It's definitely one that I'd recommend. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds. I haven't read that. That sounds good.
Definitely read that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, number 3. Who's your least favorite Star Wars character?
All right. So yeah, I'm glad I knew about this question beforehand.
I let him know beforehand because
Yeah.
you know sometimes you don't know.
Yeah, I didn't actually look at the other questions beforehand, but I did see that one. I was like, hold on, what do you think? So yeah, I'm gonna go with Watto.
Watto.
Yeah, just that ugly, loud, obnoxious dude. I mean, dude's a slave trader. Like,
Right. It's like, hey, you kind of suck.
yeah, the bar's not very high, and he's playing limbo with the devil. It's way down there. He's not a good dude.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's. I feel like a lot of people are gonna say Jar Jar. I feel like
I would agree with that.
I feel like a lot of people would say Jar Jar.
I don't mind him. I mind the impressions people do of him.
That's fair.
I think that's probably gonna be why, and they're just gonna say Jar Jar without really having that asterisk there. Because I like Jar Jar as a character, but I find a lot of people are just,
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Granted, if we want to look at like, you know, the lore allegations that he is actually a Sith Lord.
Jar Jar's Sith Lord. I love those.
I can get into that, but
I love that.
yeah.
Fun fact, actually, Vader in the comics, nerd, I'm sorry. Vader in the comics comes back and kills Watto, like as Darth Vader.
Okay.
Like, so maybe there's some resolution there for
Yeah,
you.
a little bit of resolution. That's good. That's good. Okay.
Oh man. All right. So number 4 is, what is your go-to motivation? You know, is it a video? Is it a book? Is it, you know, calling someone? What is it?
Sure. That tends to vary day to day. And it's not necessarily the method of communication with someone, but just that I'm communicating with someone. You know, when I talk with someone and I kind of see something change in the back of their mind as they have an epiphany, or help them realize something, it's not, you know, just talking with them, but having them learn something new or realize something new. The second I see that, I'm like, oh, it's a good day.
Yeah.
I want to go do everything, you know, and it kind of explodes from there to where I'm like, yeah, maybe today wasn't a good day, but the second I'm talking with someone and they're, you know, they want to change their college major, or they're not sure if they want to do this or that for track, or if they want to move, or if they're going to come to Montana. But you know, whatever it
That took me a second.
Whenever I see that little spark in the back of their head, and I'm just like, yep, that feels good. Yeah. So I mean, that tends to be phone calls sometimes, you know, whatever else. Face to face is definitely the best, but even sometimes you can hear in their voice if you're just on the phone or something, and that's just fantastic. Yeah.
So if I know you're having a bad day, just hey, I'm thinking about moving to Montana. What you think?
Oh, if you said that, I would go crazy.
All right,
Yeah,
all right.
absolutely.
So secret motivation right there.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, then last one here. Kind of going off this one. What's one thing you look forward to every day?
That's a good one. So we're gonna go kind of based off of the malnourished nickname, food. I love food. I live for food. It's the best.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely something to where it's like, that's a little thing, but whenever I'm going to a meal, especially if it's like something I prepared, sometimes the food I make, it's not the best. I blame my dad for that. He didn't give me some good habits. But it's like, oh, well, you know, why are you putting these 5 things together? I want to see if they taste good. They don't, but it's fine. But sometimes they do. Or sometimes, you know, I cook a roast better than I have in the past, or I cook a steak and I'm like, oh, that is perfect. Or,
Yeah.
you know, whatever it is. That's definitely something to where it's like whenever I make food and it ends up good, it's even better. But just sitting down to eat and just knowing that, you know, I have the ability to eat, I've got a healthy relationship with food because of, you know, the way that I've tracked it in the past, and then knowing that, you know, this one food, whether it's, you know, a super healthy meal or if it's a cheat meal of some kind, you know, this isn't gonna make or break my life moving forward. This is just something I can enjoy right now, forget about anything else that's happening, whether it's good or bad, and just enjoy the meal.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on, Jesse,
Thanks
and
for
being
having
my
me.
first guest.
Yeah.
I hope it wasn't too miserable for you.
No, I've endured worse things.
That's
for
fair.
sure. Yeah.
That's fair.
I was a cross country kid.
You were crying.
Yeah.
Pain. All right. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
Thank you.